Hello and welcome to the Absolute Beginner Guitar Lesson Series. My name is Oliver and today's lesson is lesson number 20. Today's lesson is the second lesson in a series of lessons that are going to be centered around chord voicing. And in the last lesson, which was a whiteboard lesson, we introduced chord inversions. We learned what they were. And we learned that the different inversions have names for them. But more importantly, we came to see how the chord fingerings that we've been working with are just inversions. And that allows us to play the same chord in several different ways. And we kind of looked at those a little bit more closely to see specifically what was going on when we were running each set of fingerings. So today what we want to do is we want to get on the instrument and we want to start getting into chord voicing. And chord voicing, I'll define chord voicing as using chord fingerings or chord inversions to, first of all, make our playing more interesting. And secondly, to help make our playing easier. So that's what we're going to be studying with chord voicing. And today we're going to start with the first part of that. And we're just going to sort of look at how using chord voicing can make your playing more interesting. Let's say we have to play the C major chord followed by the D minor chord. Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to find a C major chord. So let's say that you decide to find the C major chord with its root note on the first fret of the B string. And you apply that open string fingering. Actually the first one that we learned in the lesson series. And you get your C major chord. Well, in our study of our chord fingerings that were have root notes on the B string, we learned that to play the D minor chord, all we really needed to do was move this root note up that's on the B string up a step and find the D root note, and then we would apply our minor chord fingering. So we have more than one way to play the D minor chord. So what I could have done is, instead of playing the D minor chord with the root note on the B string, I could have opted to choose a different fingering. So let's say I opted to choose a fingering where my root note was on the G string. So I would locate my root note on the G string, and I can locate the D up at the 7th fret of the G string. And the chord is D minor, and I would apply my minor chord fingering, and now I have D minor. So let's just listen to it played with the two different chords, and let's listen to the difference in how it sounds. So let's go back to the original way we played it. We played the C, and then we just moved up and played the D minor with the root note on the B string. And the second time we played the C, we opted for a different D minor. We chose a root note that is on the G string. So we chose to find the D minor at the 7th fret of the G string, and we played our D minor chord. Now, I hope that you can hear there's a difference in the sound between this D minor chord and this D minor chord. They're both the same chord in terms of the notes, but the inversion changes the way the chord sounds. And this is what we're talking about when we talk about using chord voicing to make our playing more interesting. We could have also chose our D minor chord fingering that has its root note on the E string. So then we would locate our root note D at the 10th fret of the E string and apply our minor chord fingering. And now we have D minor. So as you can see, when we move from the C to the D minor, we have lots of options. So I hope you can hear the differences when I played each D minor chord. And that's kind of what we're getting at. And the simple fact is, I could have chosen any of the four C major chord fingerings that I know to start with. I could have chose to stick with the B string and played my root note at the 13th fret of the B string, and this becomes my C. And then if I chose to go to, say, stay on the B string, now I'd have to go down to the 3rd fret to find the D note, and then I have this. So now you can hear the contrast between when we start up with this C that's significantly higher in pitch, and then we move down in pitch to this D. So what I'm sort of getting at is, when we really start looking at it, our options are only limited to our knowledge of different ways to play the chord. That's the basic fundamental information of the lesson. So I want you to practice this, and in the next lesson, we're going to start looking at how we can use chord voicing to make our playing easier. So put in your time, put in your work, and I hope to see you there. Peace.